I believe it was produced in 1977, and it's called Florida Returns.
Really?
Yeah, and it's all about Florida comes back, and Mrs. Naugatuck is the maid. And, of course, she's welcomed with open arms. And Mrs. Naugatuck gets a little persnickety with Florida. She says, "Look, don't you be touching my liquor. I've got all the bottles marked." And Florida responds to her, "Look, you limey lush, I'm a Christian woman. I am not going to be touching your hooch." And, of course, that got a big laugh because, you know, when you have a woman with a comic English accent and a sassy black woman, it's comedy gold, Tim.
In the 70s especially.
In the 70s especially. So anyway, Walter comes into the front door and says, "Florida, you left this out on the front porch," and he's dragging in her suitcase. And he says, "Florida, this is heavy. What, do you have a dead body in this?" And Florida panics. And she's like, "Oh, no, I don't have a dead body in there." And Maude grabs her by the arm and whisks her into the kitchen. And she says, "You know, Florida, we've been through a lot together. You can be upfront with me. You helped me bury my third husband."
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Exactly. And Florida had to come clean that she had bludgeoned her husband, James, to death with a hammer and stabbed him multiple times.
Okay.
Cut to that evening, and Maude and Florida are dragging the suitcase with James' body out, and they start digging the grave in the backyard. And unfortunately, they hit a gas line, and the neighborhood explodes. And
Wow.
it was planned to be the cliffhanger for that season. And they were going to try to kill two birds with one stone because both B. Arthur, who played Maude, and Esther Roll, who played Florida, were just making too many demands in their contracts. So They decided they were going to cancel one. They hadn't made up their minds yet. They were going to cancel one show. And the other show, they were just going to recast another actress and just have her wrapped in bandages from head to toe.
Oh,
for that season until they figured out what to do. Because you don't want to cancel two shows, you know?
No.
Yeah. And the sad part about it was that Florida told her kids that James, her husband, was killed in a car crash in Mississippi. So
That's
they
right.
were living a lie all that time. But yeah, if you get a chance to catch that, Tim, it's called Florida Returns.
I almost think you're making this up.
The unaired. What does your gut tell you, Tim? Go with your gut.
It's the Seti Bimco Show. John is one of your hosts, and Tim is the other. One is wacky, and one doesn't grasp the concept of tabletop hygiene. Let's see what trouble they get into this week.
She did have a new husband. No, she had a boyfriend named Carl, right?
She had a boyfriend named Carl. They didn't get married. I don't know if it was lung cancer. No, they did wind up getting married. And that was another thing that Esther Roll, she was very upset about the direction the show was going.
He disappeared at the next season, just like Richie's older brother in Happy Days.
What was Richie's older brother's name? Why is it?
I don't know, but he disappeared after one season.
He did disappear. What was his name? Chuck. Chuck was his name.
I think Maude had murdered him. That's what happened.
Chuck Cunningham. That was the older brother.
When they need to get rid of someone on the show, they just call Maude.
They just
you don't
call
need this
Maude.
person anymore.
I think she killed off Edith.
She might have.
Maybe Edith had. See, and they were going to tackle the theme of euthanasia, and maybe poor Edith had this like incurable disease, and Maude just came as an angel of mercy and just put her out of her misery. That was another proposed episode. I don't have the website handy where you can actually find these nuggets, but just trust me on this.
You've given me many nuggets.
Thank you.
I have so many nuggets to work with.
I try.
It's the Seti Bimco Show. It's the Seti Bimco Show, and it's episode 11. The show where we look back at the funny or tragic or weird stories of high school, and we look back at movies from our high school years. Mm-hmm. And this week is a week where we're talking about a movie.
Yeah.
But we had a great guest last week. I'm still so excited. I got to interview someone who made a Sasquatch movie, and he's an actor, director, producer. He's a great guest. So if you haven't seen that episode, and if you haven't watched the movie The Sighting or The Triangle, John enjoyed one of those. Did you see the sighting?
I finally saw the sighting, yes. Oh, and his name was Adam Pittman. I don't know if you mentioned
Adam Pittman, yes.
Yeah, okay. No, I did see the sighting. It was wonderful. And the other one, what was the other one? Roulette, the shorter film? Was that the name? Yeah, I saw that too. The one that's like free on YouTube now.
Yes.
I did see that, yes. No, both all wonderful. But he was talking about Grizzly 2, The Revenge, which is the... Did you read up on that at all?
A little bit. I saw who's in it and how it got seized by the Russians because I forget.
They filmed in Hungary, which was communist at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
And
seized by your people, John.
Seized by my people. I went to Hungary when it was communist. Actually, Budapest was a very beautiful city. I think it sustained very minimal damage in World War II, so a lot of the old architecture was still standing.
Nice.
But, they have George Clooney, Charlie Sheen, Laura Dern above the title. But apparently they're like only in a scene, like basically I think they're camping and they get killed. It's like those random kids that...
Are they the campers who get killed by Maud?
By Maud, or in this
and then the grizzly comes along and tears them apart more
and takes the rat. Maud frames the grizzly.
Yeah,
and in the end they pull it off like Scooby Doo, and it's B. Arthur. It's like Maud Finley.
Also, before we start, I want to thank the Movie Mixtape podcast and give them a little hype because I listened to their episode and I sent them an email Monday. Mm-hmm. And let's see. That will come out next week, but this show is taped 4 weeks ahead. And I just wanted to say they did Whiplash. And next week they're doing Roman Holiday. So I wrote in to say, hey, just so happens this week you'll hear a great story about Gregory Peck. Because anyway, this is getting complicated. The episode with your Gregory Peck story will air next week as we record this.
Next week? Okay.
And also we talked with Adam, who had some stories about J.K. Simmons, who was in Whiplash. And I wrote all this in their email, and I said, sorry, I basically wrote you an email hyping our own show. So I wanted to give them some hype here.
Oh, yeah. I was going to email because I've been listening to the great Dante read-through with Simon and Edie. I'm not getting along with that as quickly as I'd like to, and it's not because of the material. It's wonderful. Just, with the 2 jobs and everything that's going on right now, I got to read. I got to read the graphic novel is what I need to do. I'm like, I want it because Dirk and Marcy did the Hunger last week with David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, and Catherine Deneuve. Mm-hmm. And I had some suggestions about Catherine Deneuve, a couple movies that they might want to do. But I'm like, I don't know if I'll email them because
why not?
I don't know. I'm just kind of. I'm actually a very. In reality, I'm a really shy person.
Wow.
Like, I can do well with people who obviously I've known for a long time.
People who you look down on, yeah.
No, Tim, I've always looked up to you. I've always aspired to be you. I can do like a play in front of 1,000 people, which I've done. I can't speak in front of 10 people though. Maybe because I can see them all. Yeah.
I like the 10 people. I've gone on tour with my book. And if it's 10 people, then they'll talk to me. Yeah, but I can talk with them. You're doing a show and I'm talking about something. And I'm like, you want to ask me about it? You want to talk about it?
Maybe I just don't think I'm that interesting.
Yeah. If it's 2,000 people, I can't say, oh, sorry. I'm ignoring you.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send Simon and Edie an email. I'm going to send Dirk and Marcy an email. And I'll send George O'Connor an email. Speaking of George O'Connor, our episode with him dropped.
Yes.
We are taping 4 weeks in advance. This was
everybody
on the same day. NPR's Morning Edition ran an interview with him.
That's true. We gave NPR a big bump.
They are, they're stealing material from us. And by the way, George, 12 Greek Olympian graphic novels of the Norse are only going to be 4. As a man of Norwegian ancestry who lived in Sweden, I'm not offended by that at all. But anyway, then you sent me, and I believe that's a local NPR show on WNYC with the quote-unquote ABBA expert.
Yes.
Who
it was ABBA Day. Explain. It was ABBA Day last week.
It was ABBA Day. It was the 48th anniversary of their winning Eurovision with Waterloo. And except for switching from driving on the left side of the road to the right side of the road, that woman stole every one of my ABBA facts.
I think so.
She's an ABBA expert because she's got a European accent. Is that how it works?
Is she our one German listener? Maybe
she might be. Well, there we go. Now we've got nobody in the Bundesrepublik.
One more connection between movie Mixtape and our Ringo episode. Ringo's about a drummer, and Whiplash was about a drummer. I was like, there was so many coincidences going on. I had to write about it. So sorry, Dirk, Marcy. And speaking of musicians, I don't know if you heard this, but in Brooklyn, I'm not going to advertise for them. I'm not going to advertise for them and tell you which hotel it is in, but in a Brooklyn hotel, and on July 8th, I'll say the date, a musician, I'm doing air quotes, so John, a musician is going to perform.
Musician is in air quotes?
Yes, he's going to perform. He has learned to play the guitar. And you want to give one guess? You're not going to guess, but I'll give you.
Don't tell me this is like when I got dragged into this show. It was in Raleigh. It was a band, and he was playing. Was he playing harmonica or kazoo? It was Macaulay Culkin.
You were on stage with him?
I was not on stage with him. I was in the crowd. I was an audience member.
But you got dragged up there.
We got dragged up there, and it was something pizza. I can't remember. Was
this his band, you're saying?
Electric Pizza. Yeah, but all he did was play the kazoo or the harmonica. It was some sort of mouth instrument. I can't remember. Right. And most of the time he just stood up there on stage and just kind of bopped his head around. So he
smacked aftershave on his face and did the scream.
Okay, no, is it along those lines?
Well, no, I don't want to say that. That's mean. It's Mr. John Hinckley, who has been, released to live with his mother.
Yes.
And he's on Twitter saying, I wish I could show you his face. His face, no joy whatsoever. But he's like, I'll be performing July 8th. Sales are great. And it says with special guests. Who is John Hinckley's special guest?
Louise Fletcher.
Oh, come on.
Louise Fletcher and oh boy. Wow.
But I knew an artist person. He wasn't my friend. This was here in Brooklyn also. He, as a performance art, he let people pay to be audience members at the live birth of his wife's baby. They could sit and watch. And up until this point, I thought that was the worst idea for a live performance. But now John Hinckley's playing. So
no, the worst I had it was in New York.
John, give my joke a laugh at least.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. No, that was good. I think I'm on delay here, but anyway, I'm wondering if Yoko's going to show up.
Oof.
And somebody pat her down.
No, wait. You're confusing this. John Hinckley. He's Reagan's guy.
Oh, that's right. Reagan. Oh, I'm thinking of Chapman. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, yes. Jodie Foster will show up.
No, she's going to stay away. It's going to be 10 songs about Jodie Foster, maybe. I don't know.
I guess it's because he didn't actually kill Reagan.
Yeah. He's obviously mentally ill, and he's been released to stay with his mom.
And they probably have him so hopped up on psychotic drugs that probably hence the blank stare.
He's old. How old must his mom be to be taking care of him?
I was under the impression I read that she passed away recently too.
So I don't know who's taking care of him.
I don't know.
Anyway, so I'll be there.
Are you going?
I'll be there. Oh, sure, I'll be there.
Oh, I know you will.
I'll be the jerk wearing a Jodie Foster mask. Sit in the front row. Because some idiot will do that. It's Williamsburg, Brooklyn. So this week, last week we watched a movie that John chose. So I hope John has a little synopsis to read.
I do. It's a movie. It came out in 1970. It's considered a science fiction horror film. And the name of the movie is Trog, as in troglodyte. And it's the story about the discovery of a troglodyte in 20th century United Kingdom. Joan Crawford is a renowned anthropologist who learns about this prehistoric man or precursor to man living in the caves outside of the town. The previous film we did was Psychomania, which was George Sanders' last film. This was the last film of
Joan Collins.
Joan Crawford. Did I say Joan Collins?
Sorry. No. I said it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't, I do love me a good. Joan Collins would have been awesome in this movie.
Yes, she would have.
I wonder if she turned it down. But anyway, so it's basically
I was thinking of Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers would have been awesome in this movie. Joan Rivers would have been awesome in this. Oh my God, I could totally see that.
Shut me down. I'm not going to do that joke.
No, don't. Please don't.
So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
That's where she got the inspiration for her plastic surgery from Trog. Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean,
okay. So anyway, are you okay?
I'm okay. New chair.
Oh, all right. You know what? I didn't bring the office. I realized I'm sitting in the wooden chair. Oh, well.
I didn't hear a squeak yet.
Okay. I did hear the other chair squeak. It's an old office chair. Who knows? I think maybe Ray got it when he bought the heating pad. But anyway, go back a few episodes. You'll get that joke if you're just tuning in for the first time.
We're building the SETIverse.
Yes, we are building the SETIverse. So basically, let's just call it what it is. Joan Crawford's career was, it's safe to say, in the crapper at this point. She had done a movie in the early 60s with Bette Davis, her longtime nemesis. And I'm not even gonna get into that because that could be a 13-episode podcast on its own. The name of the movie was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. 2 washed-up actresses, one of the biggest hits of that year. And then suddenly they're getting offered roles. Unfortunately, all the roles are getting offered are in horror movies.
Do you know why this was? Why would that suddenly happen?
Because what happened to Baby Jane was such a hit, and these quote unquote studios thought they had a formula. So Joan Crawford did some films like Straight Jacket and Berserk. She was supposed to do it was originally supposed to be called Whatever Happened to Cousin Charlotte. Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. She infamously dropped out of it about a month into production. Olivia de Havilland came in. So they were, this was just, and I could go on about Mommy Dearest. That's another 13-episode podcast. I'm not even going to begin. But it's just safe to say.
Okay. And
I don't understand why Joan Crawford did this, because her estate when she passed away 7 years later was like $2 million in 1977. That was a pretty good chunk of change. So it wasn't that she needed to do it financially. She was still on the board of Pepsi Cola, the seat that was held by her late husband, Alfred Steele. So,
and we saw Pepsi in this movie.
Yes, you do. And of course, according to legend, those Pepsi cups she was walking around with were 100 proof vodka. Which you couldn't get in the United Kingdom. She shipped it in with her. She had her priorities, and she researched that too. She's probably calling all over from LA, trying to find a liquor store in London that will give her 100 proof vodka. And then finally, somebody said to her, "Ma'am, you can't get 100 proof vodka in the United Kingdom." And so she slammed the phone down and said,
"Yep,
start packing crates. Mama needs to bring vodka with her to jolly old England."
They don't have lunatics in England.
So I'm guessing, and maybe it's the same case with George Sanders. I don't think George Sanders really needed the money. He had this beautiful villa in Spain. So I guess it was.
You like attention if you're an actor.
Ego. Okay, let's be kind. They strive for the creativity, but let's call it's their ego. They want to be in front of the camera. Okay, so let's get into Trog.
Was that the end of your synopsis?
No. Well, it was basically the end of
no.
Well, I thought Tim. It's called build up.
But synopsis is like 3 sentences, John. You've been talking for 10 minutes.
There's editing. So basically, my synopsis was she finds this troglodyte, and then I'm going to get into the movie because I really can't. I mean, I'm going to have to actually kind of go through the movie here. So I'm going to start with the opening scene.
John, can I start with the opening scene? Or do you have a lot to say?
Scene. Sure thing, Tim.
We got to trade off a little bit.
No, it's my show. I'm taking over.
First of all, and I'm joking, I love England. I was like, what are all these different terms? They don't have the correct terms for anything. These 3 guys they explore caves, which is called spelunking in America. And Anyway, they go into a cave and they find an underground pond, river. I don't know. They don't say what it is, but they're like, we don't want to call the sub-aqua team. Have you ever? Did you?
Maybe it's an English thing. I don't know. Maybe we could ask Dirk about it.
Well, I was laughing at it. I was already to call up Dirk and make fun of him, but I looked it up, and in Britain, that's what they call scuba divers, the sub-aqua team. That's
maybe
their
the
term
person in England who named him had dyslexia and just got the letters sub-aqua instead of scuba. I don't know.
Dirk,
get back to us on that.
But anyway, I used to be in the outing club in Ithaca when I lived up where near where John is, and I did a little spelunking, and right away I was like, that's not for me. I'm not crawling through little holes. And I want to point out that in this movie, they find a river and like, well, let's strip down to our underwear and swim. And I'm like, no, in a cave diving, you don't want to get wet or cold at all. You'll get hypothermia.
Yeah.
You'll
That's
die.
Why you need the sub-aqua team with their special suits.
Yes.
Because even he jumps in, he goes, it's ice cold. It's like, well, yeah, duh.
I know. Yeah, but the thing I noticed was, I know nothing, the director, know nothing about him, but what I found interesting was this movie opens with like eye candy for the guys, these two buff guys who one of them is a well-known bodybuilder. Did you look him up? Do you already know this? His name was John Hamill.
Yes.
He's the guy who survived. And even when I was watching that, I was like, oh, you guys are like
great. Yeah,
really buff.
There was a very homoerotic,
yeah, because nowhere else in the movie, like the women don't strip down to do anything. In these old movies, you expect that. So yeah, I looked him up, and he's well known for being a bodybuilder. If you type his name into the internet, you will find many naked and not naked or wearing his swimsuit pictures of him. He's well known.
They do put those filters on Google for a reason. Sometimes you need to listen to them because What
filters?
Because there's a lot more than just him in his boxer shorts, and I'm just going to leave it like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say I was surprised the movie started out with beefcake for guys. So it was very odd for back then. Unusual for back then.
It was very unusual for back then.
And they knew nothing about caving because they were going to get hypothermia. Oh, and let's say this right now, John. Except for Joan, every actor in this movie was in an episode of Doctor Who. I got tired of checking them all. Yes. I was like, okay, I'm not going to name.
I did notice that. Yeah,
they were all in Doctor Who at one point.
And one was in Keeping Up Appearances, which I know you hate.
Yep.
He played.
I don't hate it, but I was like, there it is. That's why John wanted to watch this.
He was the one who didn't strip down. He was the one who actually works with Joan throughout the film.
Yes. Yes. So anyway.
I'm sorry. I did just want to interject something here. You were asking about the director. His name was Freddie Francis, and he is an Academy Award-winning cinematographer. For Sons and Lovers in 1960 and Glory in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway.
Did you want to say something about the beginning I missed, or are you going to say the same thing?
No, that was basically the same thing. Like very homoerotic beginning. Mm-hmm. Keep your filters on Google when you Google John Hamill.
And it was also very like schoolgirlish because when the second guy stripped down went in, the third guy's like, "What are you doing? This is crazy!" And he goes and he says, "Well, if you don't want to do it, it's just me and John from now on." And so he swam off angrily. Anyway, very catty.
Yes. So they get swimming through the underground, we'll call it an underground channel?
Sure.
And Bill, the first guy who had gone into the water, suddenly comes face to face with Trog.
Yes. And did you read, or do you want to say it, that Trog's costume was a leftover monkey suit from 2001? Did you find that fact?
Space Odyssey, I did see that.
And only the head. They didn't bother getting the rest of it.
Couldn't you just glued a little fur on the rest of the body? It was it was like the head from the neck up,
all hairy, nothing
and
else.
then smooth as a baby's bottom from the neck down. It's like
he'd been shaving all those years.
He'd been shaving, yeah. So everybody knows that underground. Glacier channels do have a depilatory effect on body hair. I guess that's what we're getting.
You got it.
It is true.
But thank God he wore underwear. There's a few scenes where I was like, "Oh, you got underwear on." Thank goodness.
I did notice that. I was like, "Is that?" Yeah.
They hadn't invented the bidet back in his day, so I didn't want to see any.
And my only, unless of course Trog had some sort of subhuman super strength,
right?
Like he just sort of tackled Bill, the guy he kills.
Well, he's a wild man.
But then they do the close up on the body and it's like all bloody and beaten, and it's like he really didn't beat him that badly. It was just kind of like a wrestling move when you're like a 7-year-old kid where you don't really know how to wrestle.
Right. And he was a wrestler.
And he was a wrestler. Yes, you sent me that link.
The Trog, the actor who played Trog. I wrote his name somewhere. We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it later. The next scene is the Brockton Institute, which is like this old English manor house. Mm-hmm. And the police inspector walks in and says he has to speak to Dr. Brockton, which is the character played by Joan Crawford. And you hear that, and no matter how old she got, that Joan Crawford voice was always the same. She's like, right. Show him in immediately. And so basically the premise is that the guy who didn't strip down to his underwear, the guy who was on Keeping Up Appearances, he lived. And so the cop asked him, why didn't you contact us right off the bat? And he said, well, my friend was dying and I brought him right here because it was the closest place and I had to take care of my friend. So Joan has.
But what is this institute? Did you ever figure it out?
It's some sort of. She's an anthropologist. Anthropology,
yes, okay.
She's an anthropologist, and the Malcolm, that was the character's name, the student, the one who didn't get attacked by Trog. He is a zoology. He's in his last term of university.
Everything was lucky for Trog here.
Everything was very lucky for Trog. So Joan goes up to look in on Grant, the guy who survived the attack, the Trog attack. And he's heavily sedated. He's like, the eyes and I've never seen anything like it before. And he just sort of goes back into his dope-induced sleep. And from that, Joan Collins, now you got me saying Joan Collins. Joan Crawford deduces that there is some missing link out, some sort of animal or some sort of that man does not know about. That's what she got out of that 15-second dope-induced conversation. She's an excellent anthropologist. She knows her stuff. So they go through and they sort of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just nothing. There's really nothing to say about that. It was just all confusing. Why? And the police are suddenly upset, and she's going to go look and.
Right. So they go up to So let's just fast forward. It's not really fast forwarding that much.
Well, she puts on a nice suit and she does take a picture of Trog picking up a rock, ready to throw it at her. We never find out how they escaped.
Just right at at the second she lifted the camera, yes. She should have been looking for Sasquatch. She would have gotten that photo back in 1940. Because how fortuitous for her. She doesn't even know she's taking a picture. She's just taking a picture of the cave.
Yes, but he was going to throw a rock at her.
He was going to throw a boulder at her. And she just happened, and one shot, Tim.
No, but my point is, how'd she get away? He was going to throw a boulder at them.
I don't know.
Why didn't
they never did? That's something on the cutting room floor, probably.
That's a big missing piece.
A big missing. This probably would have been a great film if they had kept that scene, if they could have explained that.
Getting away.
Because I was believing it up until this point.
Just like the triangle last week.
Just like the triangle last week. I was like, this is a fantastic documentary. And then I was like, wait a second here. How'd you get away from that troglodyte with the boulder? So, yeah, you're right, Tim. After that, this movie was ruined for me. But what a crack shot Joan Crawford was.
Oh, right. Well, you're getting ahead of yourself here.
Well, not really. This is like, so then the cops come.
The news media, everybody.
News media and everybody, and there's like it's like a 4th of July picnic.
And John,
and I mean, like the whole town is out there.
You know what stood out to me? There's a truck there called Peak News.
And
I'm like, everything in Britain is BBC, BBC One, BBC Four. What was? I think that was fake, John.
Yeah, that was fake. That probably BBC was like, oh no, we do not want to be associated. We do not want to be associated unless it's like some sort of pirate. Yeah, because like in 1970, now they've got independent TV stations. ITV and Skybox.
Yeah. So they all show up to go into the cave now. They get lights and cameras in there. And back then, getting a camera in a cave.
Oh, I know.
It worked.
And it worked, and the satellite hookup worked perfectly in the cave. Like he was able to broadcast. I was like, half the time I can't get my internet to work in my apartment, and it's 2022. They were able to get a razor sharp image on 1970s technology. This is an amazing. These people are very fortuitous. I'm just going to say that.
Right when the troglodyte came out of the water.
Yes, with the scuba diver dead.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me. The Aqua. What is it? The Aqua Squad. Is that what we call them?
Was it Hydroactus Aqua? Let me go back up here. I wrote it down. Oh, the Sub Aqua Team.
The Sub Aqua Team. The member of the Sub Aqua. Because I want to be using the correct terms. When he pulls the sub member of the Sub Aqua Team out
on live TV.
On live TV. And I think
I expected Jack Ruby to step out and shoot somebody.
Jack Ruby, oh my god! And then he picks up a boulder. Unfortunately, he was not as lucky as Joan Crawford with the camera. He gets just pummeled with the boulder.
Yep.
And I think
starts pummeling people.
There may have been one other death, but those are the only two I can recall off the top of my head. So Trog comes out of the cave, and of course his eyes have to get adjusted to the sunlight because he hasn't been.
He's had no vitamin D whatsoever.
In 100,000 years? How long would it have been? 6? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
That's
and Joan Crawford has the tranquilizer rifle in the back seat of her car. And she just pulls that rifle out and bam! First shot goes right into his shoulder.
She's an anthropologist. She needs that gun.
She knows her stuff. This ain't her first rodeo. And, of course, he rips it out, and then she does a second shot. I'm not sure if that one hit, but then the third shot, and he just
Yeah, they weren't clear.
They weren't clear. But then she had some extra tranquilizer in the syringe because she wasn't sure how long.
Shot him 3 times. Let's make sure he's just...
Yeah, let's make sure he's really doped up.
After she gave him the shot, then she got out some... Anyway, never mind. Trying to make a joke about her giving him more drugs. She sat him up and lit up a joint with him anyway.
Yeah, they passed it back and forth. It's a little blonde half shirt from her last trip to the coffee houses in Amsterdam.
So they get him back to a cage that she conveniently has because she's an anthropologist.
She's an anthropologist. I guess anthropologists always have cages. See, I never took anthropology. Maybe I would have learned that had I taken that. The required syllabus for the course, the textbook, the workbook, and a cage in your house.
Joan instantly falls in love with this guy. It seems like. I mean, in love. I mean,
not like
caring,
a sexual way, but yeah,
instantly.
A motherly, perhaps a maternal. I think she had some maternal.
Yeah. Just like in Mommy Dearest.
I'll bet you Christina Crawford was very jealous of the troglodyte in this film. My mother beat me with wire hangers, but yet she loves the troglodyte. Oh, I'll bet
she gave the troglodyte a little doll, and what did she first do? Well, they just had a speech.
Was it like a little toy rocket or some? It was some sort of mechanical. I mean, was it a rocket or a truck?
No, it was a train.
No, there was a train later.
The one he breaks, yes.
The one he breaks, that's what I'm talking about. And then the doll. And he learns to wind the doll up. All he has to do is look at it once. Mm-hmm. Maybe wind up technology is older than we realize.
It's a white blonde doll, John.
It's a white blonde doll,
That's what everybody's like, ooh. Anyway,
yeah, I know.
It's like King Kong. I'm getting into a...
Well, actually, you're kind of getting ahead. The ending is very King Kong-ish, yes.
Anyway, I won't get into the race stuff. I was trying to say blonde white doll. I was just trying to say.
It reminded me of the doll that Cornelius and Zira found in the cave at the end of the original Planet of the Apes.
Maybe these movies are connected. Did I hear her wrong, or did she say in the movie, Trog is not a carnivore? Now here's some lizards and fish for me.
Lizards and fish, yeah.
Did she say that?
She said Trog is not a carnivore, but he has to get protein.
So here's some fish and lizards that he loves.
And he ate them like he'd been eating them?
He ate those fake prop animals like he'd been eating them for years.
It's like, we're at the age when you went to college with a hippie kid who was raised in the commune, basically.
Yes.
And had been a vegetarian all his life because of his hippie parents.
Right.
And then suddenly he gets to the dining hall at college and has like ribs for the first time. And there's like no stopping him after that.
No.
It's like, dude.
Anyway, you got me off the track.
He started taking stuff off my plate. I'm like, dude, I'm not finished with that burger yet. Wait, hold up. Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, I dropped the ball on that one.
No, that's quite all right. No, you didn't. No, that was a great segue.
Trying to yes and you. It's a segue. Okay.
It's a great segue. No, I was trying to make it relatable.
We had a lot of Bible talk in this movie where she's supposedly, I think they tried to add some meaning, but they really...
Yeah, there was, because you had Sam Murdoch, the businessman, Michael Gough.
Now, why did he hate the troglodyte so bad?
Because he was a businessman and he was trying to get a housing development going, and he thought that the troglodyte would be bad publicity for, like, who was going to come to a... It'd be like, who's going to move into the neighborhood where John Hinckley's staying? You know what I'm saying?
And who is going to move to a neighborhood where the troglodyte is playing the guitar?
So the realtors, we're walking out the door. I'm like, oh, nice house. I'm like, and then I look across the street and they was like, is that
who? John Hinckley or the troglodyte?
John Hinckley, yeah, exactly. Or maybe with the troglodyte too. They're coming out to look at the new housing and they're like, is that a troglodyte?
Playing guitar,
burying that motorcycle driver up to his shoulders.
That's right. Didn't want a neighborhood with his troglodytes living. This was the worst display of British class system yet in all the British movies we've watched.
Yes, it is. Really,
they look down on the lowly troglodyte.
They look down on it's really terrible.
He'll never be on. They'll never. What?
The rumor is several members of the royal family are troglodytes.
Yes, that's true. And I don't think they're going to let a troglodyte on the Great British Bake Off either.
They're not going to.
It's still
still
taboo.
The royals have been inbreeding since the primordial ooze. Yes. So there's probably a lot of troglodyte DNA in them.
True,
much like your Neanderthal DNA, Tim. But that's another story.
Oh yeah, I should bring that up. I got my DNA tests. I think we all have a certain amount, but I have on the high end DNA of Neanderthal DNA. Why are you laughing?
The look on your face, you're like so proud. It's like, and I'm on the high end. And the look on your face, you're so proud about this excess of Neanderthal DNA.
I figure that makes me strong. I don't know.
Next time you come to dinner, I'll have my mother make fish and lizards.
Okay. You don't have to make them. There's no cooking involved.
There's no cooking. They didn't have heat, but they didn't have cooking back then.
No.
I'm an anthropologist. I know what I'm talking about.
No heat, no bidets. So thank God he had underwear. Anyway.
For free underwear. And some sort of depilatory. But anyway. So then they have like an inquest. They want like Sam Murdoch, played by Michael Gough, who played. Well, of course, you were talking about he was in the Doctor Who universe. He
was in Doctor Who.
Apparently I forget twice. Once in the 60s, once in the 80s.
But he was in something else. You want to tell me, right? I forget.
The first 4 Batman movies, he played Alfred Pennyworth.
That's so true. Wow.
Yeah, he's one of those character actors. Like he's in everything. Like I've seen him in so many things, but he could walk by me on the street and I wouldn't know who he was. So anyway, so they have this like what would you call it, an inquest in the courtroom, and this judge is going to decide if the troglodyte. There was like missing scenes there too, because I don't know how they got from feeding him lizards and fish and teaching him how to wind up dolls to we
got to kill him maybe
to this courtroom. Yeah, so that was kind of there's something on the cutting room floor there too.
And Mr. Murdoch is just. The funny thing in the courtroom scene was maybe it's the next one. There's 2 of them. Yes. So I don't mean to get ahead of you, but the only thing to note about the courtroom scene is Joan's coworker basically stabs her in the back because he he wants a promotion, and he's like,
that's in the second court scene.
But Joan says, I accuse him of treachery, and everybody goes, and I was like, what is that?
Which actually is probably against the law in the UK still.
to accuse someone of treachery.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, I think you can get, I think it's the only crime you can still get the death penalty for in the UK.
Ooh. I hear, that's true. I hear that's why Miss Naugatuck came to work for Maude.
That's right. Because she was
escaping.
She was escaping a treachery charge in her native England.
She was.
And the United States will not extradite for a treachery charge.
I think she beat a troglodyte to death without permission, and she's like, Joan Crawford's.
Yeah,
they found another one.
That was in the second. That was in the second courtroom scene. Okay. Which wound up. Oh God, talk about being sexist. Because Mr. Murdoch is like goading him. Well, you don't want to work for a woman.
I know.
It must be really hard taking orders from a woman. And it's our taxpayer money going to this research. Yeah, to a woman. Yeah. And in between the two courtroom scenes, they start letting Trog out. Out
in the lawn. Very strange.
And then they're playing with a ball, and the neighbor's German Shepherd comes over.
Was it the neighbors? It was just like a random dog, John.
It was the neighbors. They said in the second courtroom scene, they talked about
Okay.
Except I noticed they don't call it a German Shepherd. They call it a shepherd dog. I don't think like in 1970, I think the wounds from the war were still fresh, and I don't think they would have called it a German Shepherd. I noticed that. I'm wondering if that, Dirk, if you're listening, let us know.
He's just a random dog so that he can kill.
But in the second courtroom scene, they do say it was the neighbor's dog. Yes.
Okay, John. I give in. It's the neighbor's dog. I hated this movie, but now we're laughing about it.
This is why I picked it, because I knew you'd get a laugh out of
it. Oh, before we get past the whole Frozen. So he was frozen all these years.
Right.
And I had some notes about how Trog is like Walt Disney. Because Walt Disney was frozen like Trog, right?
Wait a second here.
When Walt Disney died, they froze him.
Is this how Walt's going to come back? Because I may never go back to Disneyland.
Well, that's the whole plan. He was frozen. You didn't know this?
Because the day I go to Disneyland again will be the day that Walt gets unfrozen, and he'll just go on this troglodyte rampage.
Well, Trog has a lot in common with Walt. Trog,
go ahead.
Like Walt Disney, Trog likes dolls and trains.
Dolls and trains, okay.
Like Walt Disney, Trog hates and kills dogs. And Trog like
Pluto.
Trog like Walt Disney likes to kidnap little children and take them to his cave. Come on, there's so many things. Trog has in common with Walt Disney.
And Funicello did put that in her autobiography.
Did she?
She did. Yeah, she'd always she was 13 on the Mickey Mouse Club, and Walt would snatch her up and take her to his cave.
Now are you making something up? Because now I feel bad if that's true.
What does your gut tell you, Tim? What does your gut tell you?
Okay, let's move on. So music.
You're the one who brought up. You're the one who brought up Walt Disney. Okay, don't be
like Walt Disney. Classical music soothed thoughts. Trog, but rock and roll drove him insane.
I know. That was the anti. That was Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the.
I think Joan put that in there. She had a vendetta against the Beatles back then.
Yes, I want Benny Goodman.
Let's move on. We're getting a lot of trouble here.
Let's move on. So anyway, so they put this transmitter in Trog, and they're showing him these pictures of dinosaur skeletons.
Now, wait. This did this go in his stomach? Because that's why I was confused.
I don't know. I think it went into his arm. I don't know.
But is this what? Because this is supposed to make it talk.
It was like the size of like a transistor radio. That must have been very uncomfortable being under the skin.
And was that what made him able to talk? Because they weren't clear about that either.
No, I think he's just that smart.
But what was that for? I thought they were putting in a shocker so they could shock him when he just
didn't behave. The missing link. I think they just wanted to keep track of him. Maybe they were just going to let him roam free, and it would be a tracking device. I don't know.
Just like Mr. John Hinckley.
So, just like Mr. John
It all comes back around.
It does all come back around. But then they start showing Trog these pictures of dinosaur skeletons. and he starts remembering things about. And did you read about this? It was actually a Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, you know who he is,
right? Oh, yes.
Okay.
His last film, the original Clash of the Titans, is one of my favorites. I mean,
let's not go down that road. We'll watch one of his movies.
We'll watch one of his movies one day. No, I love that stop motion photography. So that took up a good. They must have not really have. They realized they didn't have a strong script because that sequence took.
Yeah.
Was that a good 15 minutes?
When they gave him a shot of LSD and he starts seeing dinosaurs.
But here's the thing about this. Troglodyte didn't roam the earth until 65 million years after the dinosaur.
I was shouting that at the TV the whole time I was watching this.
I know. It's like, Joan Crawford, if you're such an awesome anthropologist, you should be pointing this out.
Well, they had that stop motion animation that Harryhausen did for that movie.
What was it called? Animal World? Anyway, I don't know.
They only had that, or the stop motion animation he did for Debbie Does Dallas 3. Mm-hmm. And, he did a lot of porno stop motion animation. I don't know if you know that about
They always say that Clash of the Titans was his final film. Not true.
Nope.
Not true. There was Debbie Does Dallas.
4.
Was it 3 or 4, Tim?
4. He did 2 of them.
It was 4. 4 was going to be the direct-to-video. The live action featured Pia Zadora.
All right.
And or one of the Landers. Maybe it was one of the Landers sisters. Anyway.
Okay.
But
you're going into a realm I don't know.
You don't remember anyway, you weren't watching that in the 80s? Okay.
No.
Anyway,
we were talking about Harryhausen, but did that animation.
He did the animation. He did the stop animation.
And that scene had no purpose I can think of.
Just that without it, the movie would have only been an hour.
Yeah. So the angry Murdoch who hates the troglodyte, I don't know. He didn't have much of a plan. He unlocks the cage and throws the lock at Trog.
Well, what did he do first, though?
Oh, he smashed the lab. Yes.
Well, no, and before that,
he urinated in the corner in Joan's chair.
Then they cut that, Tim. You're obviously watching a director's cut.
Because that woman
needs to get her office furniture urinated on. No, yeah. He knocked out Did he knock out the guard with a crowbar? That was kind of extreme. I thought.
That's mod level.
That's mod level
violence.
That's mod level killing.
Yes. I don't know if he killed him. He didn't kill him, did he?
I don't know. If you're getting that sort of blunt force trauma to the head with a crowbar, I think he'd want to be dead. If he wasn't dead, then he's just in a vegetative state in some, sanitarium in the north of England to this day.
He smashes the lab
up, and basically lets Trog free.
Yep. He just unlocks it and throws the lock at him and closes the door. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, it is silly. And then as he's going to his car, who jumps over the wall of the manor house?
Yes,
Trog. And he kills Mr. Murdoch.
Actually, he didn't. I listened later in the film. They were like, he's in the hospital recovering.
Oh, is he really? Oh.
Because I think if he killed him, then the police would be like, yeah, we're going to kill him. But if they didn't kill him, Joan Rivers could still be like...
Joan Rivers could be like, can we talk?
We can't kill him.
Can we talk? We can't kill Trog. Can we talk?
Oh, the troglodyte man. He was also in Doctor Who. Anyway.
Joe Cornelius?
I believe so. Or did I get that? Oh, the beefy guy, the hunk. He was in Doctor Who. In the 70s. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody was in Doctor Who.
Everybody except for Joan Crawford. Except for Joan Crawford was either Doctor Who, a Batman movie, or a Britcom.
Right.
And then basically Trog is loose. He goes out.
Well, this part of the movie is fun. I knew it was coming. I was like, so what's he going to do? Is he going to escape and climb the clock tower in the town or something? But Trog goes on his rampage, and he does something that is as gruesome as a scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was kind of shocked. That's
you want to say it? You're dying to say it, aren't you?
No, you want to say it.
It's about the butcher, right?
Yeah, he puts him on the meat hook.
Yes.
Which
right after he throws the greengrocer through the plate glass window of his...
For denying him an apple.
Shop.
He must die.
Him an apple, yeah. He was a very good actor, that greengrocer, because he actually died with his eyes open.
Ah, that's right. He was laying there. I was wondering if that was a still shot.
Yeah. And
then he pushes a car over. It's a brick car, so it bursts into flames as soon as it tips over.
Yeah. It's like literally, it barely touches the bed. Maybe it was a Ford Pinto. Remember the Ford Pinto they had to take off the market because you got rear-ended and it burst into the flames?
Or
we have some leftover Ford Pintos we could...
Dirk, I hope cars in England are better than that now. I worry about you.
Too. That's probably why they drive on the left side. It's got to be something to do with that spontaneous combustion of the car. So the left side of the road is closer to like fire hydrants or something. Maybe.
Well, they don't use gas over there. They use petrol.
Petrol, yes. Yes, petrol, which is pig urine, I believe. Yeah, I think that's right. Which is highly flammable. Everybody knows that. So then after the car bursts into flames,
he kidnaps a young girl.
Basically, the rest of the movie is King Kong.
Yeah, he just picks a random girl.
Picks her up off the slide.
He was obsessed with her and wanted to prove he after he kidnapped her, he was gonna go shoot. And Ronald Reagan, that joke's going nowhere.
Too soon, Tim. Too soon.
He was
too soon. Well, I have a feeling. I have a feeling that in his troglodyte mind, the little girl reminded him of Anne, Joan Crawford's daughter, who I think he had fallen in love with.
Yes, and the doll. So the blonde, or the doll. I hadn't thought. Fair play to you, Tim Hamilton. I hadn't thought of that. The doll, yes. I'm always thinking race.
You are. I got to wake up early in the morning. I got to wake up early in the morning to keep up with you, and I'm already getting up at 3:30 in the morning. I don't know how much earlier I can get up.
The blonde Aryan woman. She's she's the goddess.
The ideal for the troglodyte. Yes.
Yes. So
then he takes her back to the cave.
Right.
How he finds the cave that easily because he was sedated when he got taken out of it.
Right.
But he finds it immediately.
He could smell it.
He could smell it. He had other pairs of furry underwear in the cave, and he could smell it. It was his laundry day when they came in and shot him with a tranquilizer gun. And so basically, Joan Crawford goes in. Give me the girl.
Right.
Oh, you were going to say something about the mother?
I've interrupted you. The young girl, Kim.
Yeah.
That you think he was in love with. She was in Star Trek Generations. She actually played Picard's wife.
Is that where I'd seen her before? Okay.
Well, I didn't remember her.
Everybody in this movie looked familiar to me.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Almost
I knocked you off the rails.
No, I mean, I just want to make sure I'm not going too quickly here. But I think it's time to get this over, don't you? So Joan goes in and talks to Trog soothingly and gets the little girl, and she gets out of the cave. And I guess there's the police. I didn't think police were allowed to have guns in the UK. Maybe it was the army. I don't know.
Yep.
And they start shooting at Trog, and then Trog falls over, and his torso impales itself on a stalagmite.
Yes. They couldn't just shoot him with machine guns. He had to fall.
Right, he had to fall on the stalagmite. The stalagmite is the one that goes from the floor up.
Yeah.
Stalagmite and stalactite.
Get this right, John.
Is the one that comes
there's a lot of spelunkers listening to this podcast. You got to get your terminology right.
Did I say that? It was a stalagmite. Yes.
I think so.
And I think we'll hear from them. You're not letting me get my question right. A stalactite is the one that comes from the ceiling down, I believe.
True.
If you are a spelunker, what is it again?
Spelunker.
Spelunker.
Mm-hmm. That
sounds vaguely obscene. If you are a spelunker, please
come on the show.
Please come on the show
and be interviewed by us.
And show me the error of my ways if I have made any. So basically, the movie ends with it's Kong, the death of the beast.
Giant typography credits. Sorry.
The gist of so.
Did you watch all the credits? I didn't. I turned it off when the credits came.
I was ready for it. I was ready for it to be over.
Okay.
And I didn't know. I'm going to be upfront with you. I had a little 10-second fast forward on I got it through Google Play. I rented it for $1.99.
John, number one, you wanted to watch this movie, and I did not fast forward through any of it.
I did fast forward through the stop animation of the dinosaurs a couple times. It's like, okay, enough. I got the point, I'm done with Trog, Tim. I'm done with Trog.
I won't let it end. You're trying to go.
It's time, and we're an hour and 15 minutes into this dog and pony show. It's time to move on.
Yes. Make it tight. It's so much more fun to edit when there's like.
That's what I'm saying.
When Adam Pittman is on and sticking to a schedule.
Well, Adam Pittman was, he's like, I can't. He was suffering no fools. Adam Pittman. He's like, I've got an hour for you. We got an hour and 6 minutes out of him. I was very pleased with that.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. You
had something.
This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring up about the partial episode I saw of Maude with Ed Begley Jr. Okay. And then I wanted to do my little quiz, Ed Begley Jr., Frank Sinatra Jr., or Desi Arnaz Jr.
So you're saying it's quiz time?
I think it's quiz time. I'll call it
the Bimco Brain Twist.
SETI Q&A. I love answering quizzes. I love asking questions. I'll call it SETI Q&A again. I do love quizzes.
Do you like quizzes, John? The Bimco Brain Twist. I love quizzes. Brainstorm. The Bimco Brainstorm.
Theme song. No. Yeah, this was the first season. This was an episode called Maude's Problem.
The pilot.
Was this the pilot? Okay, I'm not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Because they showed an episode before called Maude Meets Florida.
Yeah, I wonder if later.
Okay. Anyway, so they were showing him how to They were showing him how to sequence.
John, who's the Maude expert? I'm pointing to myself.
Tim. I'm sorry, Tim. I just caught myself right there. It's like it would be like arguing with Carl Sagan about interplanetary travel. I realized as soon as I put that out of my mouth. So anywho, I was watching. It's called Maude's Problem, and Maude is convinced her daughter Carol is having an affair. It turns out she's going to see a psychiatrist. And it has nothing to do with the plot, but in the very beginning of the episode, the doorbell rings. Maude opens the door, and there's a young man standing on the front porch. And he's talking about he is with an organization. He is a Vietnam veteran, and he is with an organization raising funds for the Vietnam veterans. And Maude immediately says, "Oh, really? Where in Vietnam were you? I was a foreign correspondent there. I know every inch of that country." And the guy starts stammering because it's actually a fraud. And Maude says to him, they did the same thing after World War II as well. She goes, "Let me give you some advice. Get a real job, blah, blah, blah." And he goes on. And the actor playing that young man is Ed Begley Jr.
Yes.
One of his earliest roles.
And that was just a one-off joke?
That was the scene. He was on screen for however it took that 60 seconds.
Okay.
Very brief. Very, very brief. So I got thinking about Ed Begley Jr.
Okay.
Of course, he was the son of actor Ed Begley. Mm-hmm. And I got thinking of other performers, entertainers with the junior suffix in their name. So I've come up in this week's edition of the SETI Q&A.
SETI Q&A.
I'm titling this Ed Begley Jr., Frank Sinatra Jr., or Desi Arnaz Jr. Okay. So basically, Tim, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and you tell me if I am talking about Ed Begley Jr., Frank Sinatra Jr., or Desi Arnaz Jr. Do you need to write that down?
Ed, what's the other one?
Ed Begley.
What's the second one? Yeah.
All right.
Frank Sinatra.
Ed Begley. Sinatra.
Frankie Jr.
And Desi Arnaz.
Desi Jr. I got it. I wrote it down. We're ready for Bimco Brainbusters.
Okay, first question. Which of these three's father did not win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor?
Which three did not win the award for Best Supporting?
Right, Best Supporting Actor. His father did not win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, did not win a Best Supporting. I'm going to say Frank. It's probably a trick question because Frank won all the top awards.
No, Frank Sinatra did win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
What an insult!
From Here to Eternity. The answer was Desi Arnaz Jr.
That's my first thought.
Desi Arnaz did not win an Academy Award.
I don't think he won any for anything, right?
I don't even think he ever got nominated for an Emmy, to be honest with you.
I should have gone with my instinct.
Yes. Okay, in a related question, and he claims that his father drove around with his Oscar in the trunk of his car so that fans could get a picture of him and his Oscar.
Which father of these three?
Which father of these three?
Bagley, Frank, or Desi? Well, since Desi didn't win an Oscar.
Since Desi didn't win the Oscar, so we can...
Okay. I never see pictures of Ed Begley's father doing that. That sounds like something like Frank would do.
What do you think? You really think Frank would do something like that? You think Frank would drive around with an Oscar?
Mr. Begley. Mr. Begley does
Mr. Begley, exactly. Ed Begley Jr. Yay. Yay.
So I can look in the internet and I'll find lots of pictures of him doing that.
It was. I've never seen it on the internet. It was an old interview with Johnny Carson.
Oh, well,
I think I was high that night. Chances are it was 1989. I was probably high. And I remember him talking about his dad. He had his Oscar in the trunk of his car, and he would drive around, and he'd meet up with fans, and he'd open up the trunk and pull out his Oscar, and he'd take a picture with him, the fan, and the Oscar.
John, if you want to see the pictures of him doing that, you got to turn your safeties off on your Google search, okay?
I bet you that's it.
And you'll find all the pictures.
Because John Hamill is also in that.
Yes, he's in there too.
He's also in that picture. That's right. That's right.
So I got 1 point.
So you got 1 point. You're 50%. Okay. Who was kidnapped from Harrah's Lake Tahoe, room 417, on December 8th, 1963? Was it Ed Begley Jr., was it Frank Sinatra Jr., or was it Desi Arnaz Jr.?
Them or their father was kidnapped?
Them.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking about the Lindbergh baby.
No, it's not the Lindbergh baby.
Kidnapped? Oh, Frank, obviously. Frank has all the money.
Sinatra Jr., very good. You're very good.
He's got the money to blackmail him with.
He was 19 years old. He got kidnapped. Yep.
2 points for me here on
2 points. You're 2 for 3.
Bimco Brain Bashers.
If this was NPR, wait, don't tell me, you would have won it for the listener.
Yep, I would have won it.
I'm going to give one more. I'm going to do one more question.
This is for Adam. Then he's our listener.
Oh, is he listening?
If I win,
he just heard his name, and now that we're not talking about it anymore, he's turned us off. Don't even think he's still listening into this.
If he wins, I'll play Bigfoot for him if he ever makes another one.
He had a hit called I'm a Fool, which reached number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100 with 2 high school friends.
What year?
1964.
Oh, well, that's... Then you're giving it away then. That's Desi. He was a teenager then.
Was it Desi Arnaz? It was Dean Martin Jr., actually. See, we worked on another junior there. Desi Arnaz and Billy Henshey, who was this half Filipino kid that went to high school with him. They didn't have any. Actually, they had their audition with Reprise Records with Frank Sinatra. Frank signed him because he and Dean Martin were very good friends.
Man,
but
it's
oddly,
all who you know, John.
Well, it is
all who you know.
It's not what you know; it's who you know. Exactly.
Who does John Hinckley know? That's going to be special guests at his performance.
That would be a reason to show up. Like, who's going to introduce him? Who's going to introduce him? It's going to be somebody big.
Maybe it's Carrot Top. Carrot Top introduces
Meryl
John
Streep,
Hinckley.
or Meryl Streep. I'd like to introduce my personal friend. But as I was coming up with this quiz, when I looked up that information about Desi, and Billy, Desi Arnaz Jr. is not actually Desi Arnaz Jr. His name is Desiderio Arnaz IV.
Whoa. Why?
Mm-hmm. Because Desi Arnaz was his father, and nobody knew his grandfather, his great-grandfather. Okay, one more question, Tim, and then we're done, I promise.
No, I love this.
He was married for 5 years to Joan Crawford.
That has to be Mr. Ed Begley Sr.
No, it's got to be it's got to be a junior.
Oh, it's one of the, what?
It's got to be a junior. Got to be a junior.
Frankie Jr. Come on, who else would marry?
No, it's a trick question. It was actually Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
Oh God, that's no fair, John.
It was just a bonus. I said it was a bonus question. It doesn't count. So Tim, very good. Three out of 4. Very good. Yes. I am very impressed.
No, I think that was 2 out of 4.
No, it was 3 out of 4.
Oh, okay. I'll take it.
You got Who Got Kidnapped from Harris.
Yeah.
I did kind of have to do a little prodding with the Oscar in the trunk. And you got the Dino, Desi, and Billy question. Yes,
I've won the first SETI Bisco. SETI Bimco Q&A. Bisco Brainbuster Twisters.
The SETI Disco Biscuit Disco Buster Quiz.
Anyway,
Tim.
This is the end. If you want to send us an email, setibimco@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, SETIBIM, and SETI_BIMCO at Instagram. And next week we have a guest. I never say their names because they keep shifting, but we do have a guest. An amazing guest. All right. I'll see you next week, John.
All right, Tim. Boy, this was painful.
SETI BIMCO is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly, produced by Miss Lee, music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.